here we are on the floor, on all fours. Fingers and thumbs spread, hands underneath the shoulders, knees hip width apart, knees underneath the hips. Your spine in its natural curves. Keep looking down, keep the back of the head and neck up. We're going to curl the toes under and lift both knees off the floor by the tiniest amount and hold it. And bracing. And then extending one leg and then the second leg into the plank, feeling that nothing's changed in those legs. If you can, bring the knee back in, bring the second knee back in, lower, relax a moment, and then lead with the other leg. Curling the toes under. So this is the strength section of class that you might have noticed. Part A, pretty much stretching. Part B, strengthening and stretching. So curling those toes under, leading, I'm going to lead with my back leg out into the plank, second leg into the plank, hold it there a moment. Have a sense of lifting up out of the floor. Bringing that first leg back in, bringing the second leg back in, lowering both knees. So we're going to go back into the plank and we're going to draw the knee in towards the arm. And we're going to do 4 alternating sides, initially drawing the knee into the same side arm. If you wanted to set yourself up into the plank the same way as we just did, perfect, lifting the knees. Otherwise, go from here with the knees down and just straighten the legs out into the plank. I'm going to go for lifting the knees, straightening, straightening. Here's my setup. Feet are quite close together, hip width apart again. And then drawing one knee in. I'm trying to squeeze the knee towards the arm. I'm trying not to let my hips drop. Only 4 of them. Take your time. I need to relax that foot. I'm letting the leg be dangling. Straightening the legs, drawing the knee back in, still hovering. That makes it a little bit tougher. Knees down and relax. I'm just going to go back, hips on heels. Have a little wiggle from side to side. Do some sea anemones. Ooh, all tough work. We're going to repeat that. I'm going to lead with my second leg to get into the plank. And we're going to just add a twist this time. So I'm going to take the knee to the opposite arm, keeping that upper body really nice and square. So hands in the same position. Fingers and thumbs spread, remember. Knees are hip width apart. If anything, a little bit closer together, maybe. Curling the toes under, lifting the knees off, straightening one leg, straightening the second leg, and so your body's in a nice straight line. And then we're taking the knee all the way across. And again, I'm squeezing the knee in. It's not just a quick kick. It's a squeeze. It's a rotation. It's a controlled movement. Only 4. Keeping the head and shoulders as square as possible, drawing the knee back in, bringing the second knee back in and lowering down, and again having a little rest back and taking the stuff off of the mat. Okay, from there we're going to go into staying on the same side, drawing the knee in, extending the leg out and lifting into a single leg downward dog. It looks like this. So feet and knees together this time. And I'm not going to lift both knees off to start. I'm just going to set myself up really well. So legs are out straight. And I'm going to draw the camera leg in first. 4 times, drawing that knee in all the way. Extend the leg, keep the foot on the floor. Lift, hips up, push the chest back. Try and keep those hips nice and square. Drawing in, rolling over those wrists, extending that leg back. I'm trying not to open up my left hip too much. It might open up a little bit, but I'm trying not to open it too much. Last one, drawing in, lifting up, and coming back in, onto the knees. This time I'm going to sit right back here. Carrying on, having a bit of a twiddle with those wrists. Wonderful. All of that on the other side. So this is strength work, it is strong. It's quite nice to have that change of weight through the arms and the shoulders and backing off of it a little bit into that calf stretch and that downward dog stretch. So on the other side, from my feet and knees together, extending the leg, extending the legs. Legs are together. Drawing the second leg in, extending and keeping that foot pointed and that leg nice and straight. I'm starting to lift the hips and then I'm really lifting the hips, pushing the chest back through the arms, getting a wonderful stretch on my calf as I try and push that heel down. I'm keeping the leg parallel as it goes out to the back. I could open up the hip, but we're going to do that in a moment. Drawing in, lifting up. Ooh, that was the last one. And coming back in. And a few more sea anemones. Great job. Let's now look at the Garuda heart opener. Back to all fours. Back to knees, feet and knees together. Extend your first leg. Lift it up so it's parallel to the floor. This time stack the hips. Let's do this a couple of times. 3 times actually. Stack the hips, keep the foot where it is. Did this recently in class. So stacking the hips one on top of the other, flex that foot. You're going to lower that leg to the floor. As you do, unweight your same side arm and push the underneath shoulder forwards. In fact, push the hand to the shoulder. Relax the foot that's on the floor. So now my hips are stacked and my shoulders are stacked. I'm going to wipe that hand across my chest, look up towards the ceiling, and then here's the stretch part of it, reaching up and over. So I'm looking into the palm of that hand, I'm pushing my ribs up towards the ceiling, driving the hips forwards. It's a really nice feeling. And then unravel yourself, fingertips to the floor, roll through to the hand. Feel the rest of your spine continue to unravel. And actually my back leg is sort of tucked in quite nicely because just that spiral released really beautifully there. Okay, all on the other side. So feet and knees together, extend the leg out, beautifully straight. Lift the leg, keep the leg parallel to the floor. I'm very conscious of my hips and shoulders being parallel to the floor. And then I'm going to lift and stack the hips. A little bit tighter on this side for me, a little bit harder. At the same time, I'm pushing my underneath inside thigh, the knee that's on the floor, I'm pushing that inside thigh towards the centre to help me get my hips stacked. Flexing that foot at the back that's in the air, lowering it to the floor. As I release that hand, I'm pushing the shoulder forwards, touching the hand to the shoulder, wiping the hand across my chest, relaxing that foot on the floor. The knee that's on the floor, the foot that originally was on the floor, will twist a little bit. Just let that happen. Get your balance, so hips and shoulders stacked, arms up to the ceiling, and then reach across. Look into the palm of that hand, push those side ribs up towards the ceiling. It's an amazing stretch. Feel like you're really lifting up out of the floor, and then continue to reach forwards. Roll through the hand and feel that lovely release. And again, my legs just naturally crossed over there. That feels quite nice. I've never noticed that before. That was good. Brilliant. Okay, we are lying down on our backs in the base position for some bridges and some more strength work. I'm going to get there by having my feet and knees hip width apart, sitting up nice and tall, hanging on to the backs of my knees, rounding my spine, and then tucking that pelvis under, really scooping, trying to control. I'm going to need to shuffle down a bit when I get down there. Trying to control every single vertebrae one at a time to land down on the mat. And then I'm going to shuffle forwards a little bit. And then have to repeat that in a very casual way. Okay, so be conscious of, I'm just going to take my heels out of my socks actually. Be conscious of the curves, the space between the back of your body and the mat. So The natural curve in the nape of the neck, the curve in the lower back. Make sure you're in a good neutral pelvis, pubic bone, hip bones on the same plane. This is basic 101 of my Pilates, general Pilates. How do you know you're in a neutral pelvis? It's from those 3 points of that triangle at the front. Pubic bone, hip bones. And then the curve in your lower back is down to each individual. I've got quite a big curve, some people don't have hardly any curve at all. Feet and knees hip width apart. I'm being conscious of the weight around the soles of my feet, around the edge of both feet being even. I tend to like to roll out the little toe side. And then I'm relaxing a little bit more again, making sure those ribs at the back are in contact with the mat, tucking the chin in a little bit, opening up the collarbone. Okay, now we're good to go. So pushing down through the floor, through my feet to lift those hips up as high as I can. I'm looking to stretch out hip flexors at the front. I'm looking to strengthen the back line of the body. So hips nice and tight, buttocks nice and tight, up as high as I can, making sure that those ribs aren't flaring, head, collarbone, neck, shoulders relaxed. And then let's come straight back down, keeping everything switched on. So come back down in a neutral, maintain that neutral spine, no peeling. Up to the top, let's stay up at the top this time. Think about your gluteal fold. Take fingers and poke into there. So the crease of your bottom, the gluteal fold, your sit bone lines if you like, and then switch them on and off to pulse about 10 times. Checking the feet, my knees are wanting to roll out, I'm just bringing them in a little bit. Checking collarbone, rib cage, getting that pubic bone up a little bit higher each time if you can. Bringing the heels together. When you bring the heels together and leave the toes where they are, the legs are turned out slightly in the hips. That means I can get my hips up even higher. Excellent. Another few pulses here, about 10 pulses if you can. And I'm squeezing my heels together every time I switch on and switch off at the gluteal fold. Every time I switch on, I'm squeezing the heels together, relaxing the squeeze when I switch off. Hips are pulsing a little bit, but not a crazy big movement. Okay, this next one's going to be tough. Bring your toes together as well. So we've got the inside feet together. I find this really difficult. Trying to squeeze those knees together, and there we go. We're activating pelvic floor, inside thighs. This is tough. Everything's wobbling a little bit for me. Roughly those 10 pulses again if you can. And then open up the toes a tiny bit. Think about an inch, but probably a couple of inches. Then open up your heels, also a tiny bit. So we're not in our usual hip width apart, we're quite narrow. And now pulse the knees together at the same time as you switch on and switch off, or just try and stay up with those hips. Even stronger still. Whoo. So, as I said at the beginning, this is the strength section of this class. Woo! Great. Open those toes out a little bit more. Open the heels out a little bit more. Again, release the hips up to the top. Let's take the arms up and over and have a nice reverse peeling down through the spine. That always gets me a little bit in my lower back. So for me, naturally, I want to hug my knees in and roll around. So I really felt some strong activation in at the gluteal fold then. In this position, just circle those knees around at the same time, massaging your lower back. If that feels right for you, if there's something else that you want to do, absolutely do that. Listen to your body. Whatever that instinctive stretch is, that will be the one that your body needs at this time. And then if you can, just take hold of your knees, make a really sort of big grip with your hands and grip onto your knees. just so that you can relax the legs in the hip socket. So it's like someone else is circling your knees around. It's quite difficult to let those muscles go, but imagine that you're doing that, and you can achieve it by really sort of hanging on to your knees for dear life with your hands, making like a baseball mitt for your knees, but gripping onto them. So your knees have got stuck in a baseball. I'm losing it a little bit now. And I'm circling the legs in both directions. Just really trying to let them be relaxed, not trying to use the muscles in the groin to move the legs. I'm trying to let my hands, my arms do the work. And that feels quite nice. Brilliant. Okay. What have we got next? Oh, fantastic. We have got some abdominal work. 2 sets of abdominal work today. Yes, people have reported abdominal soreness in all the right places, but that's good. So I'm just putting my heels back in my socks because there will be leg slides involved at some point. We're going to have the hands at the back of the head. Interlace the hands, hands behind the head, bring those elbows forwards into your periphery vision. Set your abdominal wall, slide the shoulder blades down in your back, hug the armpits, connect the rib cage. Pelvis is in a fantastic neutral, lower back is in its natural curve. Unweight the feet very slightly, feel that pelvis, just that sacrum, just get a tiny little bit heavier. Now we are set. Let's take some abdominal curls. Breath out as you come up, breath in as you lower, but don't relax and enjoy life when you've lowered. Stay switched on. Not that you're not enjoying life when you're doing your abdominal curls, obviously, but no time to relax. There's no time to switch all those muscles on. All that work you set up, that perfect setup, don't let it go. About 5 of these. And then let's stay on the same side. Let's use the camera leg to move first of all. We're going to add 5 knee folds to that abdominal curl. Staying using the same leg, the camera leg, for your knee fold. 3, checking that nothing is changing, that lower back isn't changing shape, you're not drawing that knee in too far. I think that was 5. Let's add on knee fold, leg slide. The back leg is sliding away along the floor. Both legs come back at the same time. I'm coming straight up for my abdominal curl. I haven't added any rotation yet, any twisting. No oblique work as such just yet. Don't worry, it will be happening. I think this is 4. And then this is 5. Adding on. Knee fold, leg slide, twist. Opposite elbow, reaching up. As if I'm going to extend my arm, I'll be reaching up to that corner and all the way back down. Ooh, knee fold, leg slide, twist. Try and keep the pelvis really stable. Try not to, and I'm not doing a very good job of this today, I'm a little bit tired. Try not to keep the shoulder blade that you're rolling towards, try and keep it clear. There you go, like that. But that was the first one I did. That was number 4. This is number 5. Woo, last one, last thing, here we go. Knee fold, leg slide, leg extension, extend that arm away, saw your the little finger side of your palm. Let's have 8 of these. Little pulses, twisting, supporting with the back of the head. Little finger side of my arm is reaching past that outside of that knee. I've lost count completely, but I'm going to have a little collapse. And just my head roll from side to side. Okay, so all of that on the other side. Let's reset our torso. Shoulders down, rib cages down, armpit hug, slightly unweight the feet. Check that spine is in neutral, check your head and neck are nice and relaxed. Head is supported We're going straight into the abdominal curl with a knee fold rather than just the plain abdominal curl. Same rules apply. Keeping that pelvis in neutral, creasing at the hinge of your hips. One more, I think. And then we're adding a leg slide. Bringing the legs back in. Remember, you're trying to clear the shoulder blades, always clearing the shoulder blades, but without any change in the rest of your torso. Two more of these, I think. Quite interesting that I can't seem to count to 5 when I'm doing all the other talking. We're adding on knee fold, leg slide, rotate. Imagine you're extending that arm up towards the ceiling. Remember the side that you're rolling towards. You're trying to keep that shoulder blade clear, which is very tough. 3, 2 more. And last one of those, grand finale, here we go. Reaching, lifting, extending, extend the arm away, and just take a very small little twist. 3 more, 7, 8, and halabababa. Woo! Okay, here we go for the second set of abdominals. Bear in mind, this is the strength section of the class. We're also going to look at the strength on those inside thighs. So we are coming up into comfy position with the legs nice and straight. I'm just shuffling up the mat a little bit. So remember, comfy position, abdominal wall is set, but you're lifting your head to the point where you can just wiggle your shoulder blades around. You're connecting, but you're not overly working. You're not working too hard. There's about 10%, maybe 20% of activation in the torso. I'm comfortable. If you wanted to work harder, keep those shoulder blades clear all the time. We're going to keep the head heavy in the hands, and actually I can see my feet. Set your feet up so that the soles of your feet are nice and flat, as if you were standing on the floor. And we're going to point the feet. We're going to turn the legs out in the hip socket. We're going to flex the feet and then bring the legs back to parallel. So we're moving the ankle, we're turning out in the hip, we're flexing the ankle, we're turning in or coming back to parallel in the hip. One more, this direction. Pointing, turning out, flexing and parallel. Let's reverse the direction. Turn out, point the feet, parallel and flex. Turn out, point the feet, parallel and flex. One more. Turn out, point the feet, parallel and flex. I just want to show you something very quickly. I'm just going to take my legs up to the ceiling for this fabulous, on this fabulous wall here. I want your insteps to be really nice and square, none of this going on. That's a curly foot, what I call a curly foot. So if I do it in this position, we're pointing the feet, insteps are still straight, turning the legs out, flexing the feet, coming back to parallel, going the other way, turning the legs out, pointing the feet, parallel and flex, as if I'm standing on the ceiling. That is quite hard work. Adding on to that, last little part of this, and maybe this time, see if you can clear those shoulder blades. So let's come back to our parallel feet with the feet flexed. So it's as if we're standing and we're sort of looking down at our legs. Legs are nice and straight. Turn the legs out, point the feet, and I've just opened up my legs so they're as wide as my mat, my yoga mat. I'm going to clear my shoulder blades, so I'm working harder. And we're going to squeeze and pulse inside thighs and heels together. And pulse, and 3, and 4, and 5, 3 more, 6, 7, 8, same thing, flex, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last set. Point and then flex and squeeze and flex and 4 more and squeeze and last 2. And now that really is it for the abdominals today. Brilliant job. Okay, we are coming up onto our side. I'm just going to square the mat up a little bit. And we're just going to do the first 2 parts of our Garuda Twist side bend movement. So, lying down on your side to start with, on your elbow, so elbow underneath your shoulder, make sure that underneath side is lifted. Feet are in line, heels are in line with your spine, or you could line yourself up the back edge of the mat. And then we're just going to take that top knee and place the foot flat by the ankle. So you're sort of making a figure of 4 a little bit there. That knee's going up towards the ceiling. Tuck that elbow in a little bit more. Make sure that underneath side is really lifted. The first movement is just to sweep the arm up and over. And it's like our Garuda heart opener. We are stretching the side seam, the ribs, and then lowering. Just 3 of these, up and over. So we're back into stretching stuff. In fact, I might even do the full Garuda Twist because that's a strong strengthening one. Taking that arm up to the ceiling, threading the needle through. Watch that that top knee doesn't follow you through here. Keep the legs still. In fact, push that knee back a little bit. This is quite strong as far as rotational stretching of your spine goes, but it's good. Let's come up, only 3 of each. That hand is quite far away, so I've got a diagonal line in the body. The difference now is that we're going to just push down on that underneath shin and drive the hips forwards as we come up. But look at the angle of my body, it's still in a nice straight line, from pubic bone through my nose out to the top of my head. So as we're going up and over, sideways, we're driving those hips forwards. Do I want to look there? I don't know. No, I'm going to look forwards. I'm thinking of stretching that side seam. I think I need to get a longer top for this one. We're going to stay up for the threading the needle section and rotate through. Look behind you and then come back up. Look behind you. Great, if you can and or you want to, this is going to turn into the big full version, which is a strength move. I'm going to take my body and my head up and over. I'm going to straighten my legs. The arm is going up and over. We're there. I'm looking into the palm of that hand. This is strong on that underneath side of your back and your lats. Holding it there. Last thing, thread the needle through and come upright. Keeping those legs nice and straight. This is quite tough on the balance. And bending the knees. Woo, twiddling round to the other side. I feel like I'm having clothes malfunctions today. Okay, here we go. Everything's going. Brilliant. So we're on our elbow. Tuck that elbow in more than you think. Heels are lined up with the spine and the butt. Lift that underneath side. Take the top foot nice and flat. And then all we're doing initially is reaching up and over. This should feel quite nice. Reaching up and over. Lifting those ribs away. Taking the arm straight up to the ceiling. Now rotating, threading through and coming up to the top. Threading through. Breath out when you rotate, breath in when you lengthen away. Good job. Coming up onto that hand. Have it quite far away so that you're sort of creating a triangle, a nice big gap here to do the next bit. Try the hips on this side. How does that feel? It might feel quite different. So rolling across the shin and that knee, driving the hips forwards, keeping the top knee back, and then we're ready to go. Up and over, sideways, and down. Up and over, up and over. This time staying up, beautiful straight line with that top arm, and threading through and coming back up to the top. Great job. Drop those hips down. I'm taking my body and my head straight up towards the corner, keeping the legs where they are. They just straighten out. The arms going up and over, sideways. Again, it's that lift in the hips, that stretch sideways. I don't know what to do with my arm there. Really sideways. Last one. I guess looking forwards. Yeah. And unraveling. Whew. Wonderful. I am just going to have a little roll around, wiggle. I'm going to come onto all fours. So if you've been doing class with me for a little while, I encourage you at this stage. This is the end of class. Do something that you know your body needs to do. So my calves are always needing a stretch out at the end of class. So I'm going to just come up into that downward dog from all fours, pushing one heel down at a time, bending the other knee. My deep squat could always do a little bit of work through those ankles. This is one way of working through one side ankle, especially if you struggle like I do to get your heels down properly on a full squat, rolling through to the other side. So I'm applying the weight through. I'm just trying to stretch out that Achilles, trying to relax the front of the foot a little bit. Work out whatever you need, know what you need, and just try and stretch through those weaker areas. But well done if you carried on all the way through there for that strengthening section of our Stretch and Strengthen class today. Thank you for joining me.